you've done literally everything right. Everything is germinated, but you go to look at your plant and you notice that it has this little seed shell stuck to the top of it. Now you're probably thinking, not a big deal, I'll just remove it. But if you are at all interested in plant science or soil science, and you actually want to know what the reason for this, because it is actually an error in how you're starting seeds that's causing that, then this video is most definitely for you. If you don't know who I am, hi, hello, my name is Ashley. I have a bachelor's of science in soil science. I like to take said science, apply it to all things plants, and in this case, the plant science of why your dang seed coating decides to stay stuck to your cotyledons. So when a seed germinates, it does two things. Your shoots go up and your roots go down. And in turn, the actual seed shell should just not have made it out of the soil at all. And this is because the plant is not strong enough to actually push away that seed coating. Now, if it continues in this route, then a few things can happen. For example, it can't grab the photosynthesis it needs to be able to get the energy it needs to be able to grow the way it needs to. So that's number one. You oftentimes see this with things like peppers, tomatoes, spinach, anything with a thicker seed coating. So what's actually happening is a moisture and a resistance issue. Seeds absolutely must have some resistance from the soil around it to be able to shed that seed coating. So if you did not know, the best way to get germination is to make sure there's really good seed to soil contact. The way that we do this is by putting the seed in and then actually pushing down the potting material or the potting soil around that seed. But if we don't do that, we don't have the greatest seed to soil contact. We also tend to find this in things like vermiculite started plants, such as these ones behind me, as well as perlite started plants, for example, because again, there just isn't that resistance. It's less likely to happen out in the garden because your soil tends to be a lot denser and heavier, which actually gives that resistance that sloughs off that seed coating that otherwise would not be removed. What we call this is mechanical resistance to seedling emergence is kind of the technical term for that. Now, the other technical side of this is the moisture. Imbibition is essentially the lack of water needed to be able to moisten that seed shell enough to allow it to soften and be removed. The only way that this could happen is if the seed was not actually sown deep enough into the soil system, so you didn't put it at the right depth. It also will happen if the soil dries out too early in the whole emergence time frame, as well as, again, if there's not good seed to soil contact or the actual medium itself isn't the greatest at holding on to the moisture. This entire concept or idea that you're seeing is actually called helmet head. And so it is a helmet head factory if you have dry soil and loose soil. Now, you don't want to just rip this thing off, because if you do that, you could damage the cotyledons. And if you damage the cotyledons, then your plant is really going to struggle to grow, because that is literally the photosynthesis factory for your plant for the foreseeable future. So what that means is that the best way to make this happen is to simply mist the seed or put some water drops on top of the seed coating that is attached. You want to put the humidity dome on, and you want to leave it for 10 to 30 minutes. Once that time frame is up, you want to go in with a pair of tweezers, and you want to very slowly try to slough it away from the cotyledons and do as little to no damage as possible. Now, if the leaves are already open and the plant itself looks like it's kind of already beginning to kind of fold out, the plant's already winning, so you could probably just leave it and let it run its own course. So the way you're going to prevent this in the future is you're actually going to plant the seeds at the depth that has been indicated on this packing, on the actual seed package. If it says put it at a 1/2 inch, then you want to actually put it at 1/2 inch. This gives it that resistance that is needed. We also want to make sure we ensure that there is a maintained consistent moisture. So we want to make sure it's not too moist, but we also want to make sure it's not too dry. Now, the best way to do that, in my opinion, is with a mister. That is what my preference is for these little guys. You could also do some bottom watering, which I also do, but I mist and bottom water, so I do a little bit of both. And then the third one is actually to make sure that you are compacting the soil around the seed, again, to add not only that moisture, but also that resistance. Now, if you want to learn more on some really rapid fire tips, 25 of them to be precise, in regards to actually seed starting and how to do the greatest job you can possibly do, then you want to check out this video right here. And that is the video that Google says you should watch next. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.